Emma Carlisle thought she had found her dream home, but some houses are alive, and some of them never forget. It wasn't long after 26-year-old Emma Carlisle moved into her dream home in the quiet town of Silverwood, Oregon, that strange things began happening. The house was everything she had imagined: spacious, old-world charm, a wraparound porch, and surrounded by towering pine trees that whispered in the wind. At first, the disturbances were subtle. When she returned from work, Emma sometimes heard faint murmurs coming from the kitchen or the living room. She couldn't make out the words, just the unmistakable sound of someone talking. She told herself it was her imagination, but deep down, she knew it wasn't. Then, during her small housewarming party, the unease grew. She had invited a few close friends, hoping the warmth of laughter would settle her nerves. But as the evening went on, she noticed shadows moving just beyond the corners of her vision, and cold drafts that seemed to follow her from room to room. One friend, Maya, mentioned she felt like someone was watching her, even though the room was empty. Emma laughed it off at first, but deep down, she felt the same chill crawl up her spine. Weeks passed, and the incidents grew more unsettling. Objects weren't where she left them. Doors she was certain she had locked were ajar. Late at night, she would awaken to the faint sound of footsteps pacing the hall outside her bedroom. Emma decided to investigate. She started keeping a notebook, documenting every strange occurrence: the whispers, the cold touches, the sudden flickering of lights. Each entry grew longer, more desperate. One night, while reviewing her notes, she noticed a pattern. The disturbances always happened around midnight and always in the east wing of the house, near the old library. The library had been her favorite room when she first moved in. Towering shelves, dusty books, forgotten journals. But now it felt suffocating, oppressive, as though the walls themselves were alive. That night, Emma resolved to face whatever was haunting her home. She stepped into the library, notebook in hand, her flashlight cutting a narrow path through the darkness. The air was thick, heavy, almost tasting metallic. She whispered to herself, trying to summon courage, and then she saw it. A figure standing in the far corner, shrouded in shadow. It didn't move at first, but Emma could feel its gaze, cold, penetrating. Her heart hammered in her chest. She called out, but no words came. The figure tilted its head, as if curious, then slowly vanished, leaving only a lingering sense of dread. From that night on, the hauntings became impossible to ignore. Emma could no longer tell what was real and what was imagined. Mirrors reflected shapes that weren't there. Whispers followed her in every room, and every night the library seemed to call to her, drawing her closer to its dark heart. The following morning, Emma awoke drenched in sweat. She couldn't shake the image of the shadow in the library. Every corner of the house now felt alive, watching her, waiting. The sunlit rooms no longer brought comfort. Even in daylight, the air felt heavy, as though carrying a memory, a presence she couldn't see, but could feel pressing against her chest. Determined to uncover the truth, Emma spent the day researching the history of her home. The town records were sparse, but she learned that the house had once belonged to a recluse named Charles Whitman, a scholar and collector who vanished nearly a century ago. Rumors suggested Whitman had been obsessed with the supernatural, conducting secret experiments in the very library that now seemed so sinister. That night, Emma returned to the library, armed with her notebook and a candle. The room smelled of damped wood and old paper. Shadows danced across the walls as the flame flickered. She opened one of Whitman's journals, found in a hidden compartment behind a shelf. The handwriting was frantic, filled with rambling notes about voices, watchers, and a presence that could mimic the living. As she read, Emma realized the presence wasn't just haunting the house. It was learning her, adapting to her routines, whispering her name when she least expected it. A chill swept across her neck. She spun around, heart pounding, and saw faint impressions in the dust on the floor, footsteps leading towards her, though she was certain she had been alone. The candle flickered violently, and for a moment she thought she saw a figure standing behind her reflection in the mirror. She blinked, and it was gone, but the air remained heavy, charged with something unseen, something alive. Emma knew she couldn't face this alone. She called Maya the next morning, recounting everything, the shadows, the whispers, the journals. Maya agreed to come over, cautiously optimistic that perhaps the fear was just in Emma's mind. That evening, they returned to the library together. The air was thick, shadows deeper than before. Emma showed Maya the journal, pointing to a passage that chilled her to the bone. It learns your voice. It learns your thoughts. The house is alive with what once lived here. It remembers, and when it remembers, it waits. Suddenly, the candle went out. Darkness enveloped them, complete and suffocating. Emma felt a presence move behind her, something cold brushing her shoulder. She gasped. Maya screamed. A whisper arose, almost melodic, repeating Emma's name. They ran from the library, slamming the door behind them, but the unease didn't leave. Emma realized the house wasn't just haunted, it was sentient. Every creak, every draft, every shadow was an echo of the past, learning them, shaping itself around their fears. Sleep became impossible. Emma dreamed of the library nightly, seeing glimpses of Whitman, watching from the shadows, whispering secrets in a language she almost understood. She began to write everything down, hoping that recording the occurrences might somehow protect her from whatever was inside. And then, one morning, she found the first note not in her handwriting, tucked neatly among her own journal entries. You are not alone. Emma stared at the words, dread pooling in her stomach. The house had begun communicating with her. It was no longer just a home, it was alive and far more dangerous than she could have imagined. Days passed, but the house's presence grew stronger. Emma felt it in every step she took. The air itself seemed heavier, almost viscous, as though she were walking through unseen water. Even the sunlit rooms no longer brought comfort. Shadows clung to corners, stretching unnaturally, twisting with every flicker of light. Emma tried to leave the house, but the thought of stepping outside no longer offered relief. Every street seemed familiar, yet wrong. Every neighbor's glance felt like a reflection of the house, watching her even beyond its walls. The journal entries multiplied, now filled with frantic scrawls. It mimics me, it knows my thoughts, it whispers my secrets. One evening, as Emma sat in the living room, she realized that the whispers had started mimicking voices of her friends, of her family. She could hear Maya calling for her, sounding frightened, but when she ran to answer, no one was there. Even her own voice echoed back, distorted and strange, taunting her. The breaking point came when she saw herself in the mirror, or rather, something that looked like her, perfectly replicated, yet horrifyingly wrong. Its eyes were darker, emptier, and it raised its hand, imitating hers, smiling in a way she never could. Emma stumbled back, her chest tight, her pulse racing. The reflection didn't disappear. It stepped forward, synchronized with her movements, until it stopped, frozen, staring straight into her soul. Emma screamed. The lights flickered violently, and all at once the house seemed to react. Walls creaked, floors groaned, doors slammed shut. She ran to the library, desperate for answers, and found new writings on the walls, etched in dust, ink, and something darker she didn't want to identify. "I know you. I will become you. You cannot hide." She collapsed into the nearest chair, shaking. Maya, who had come over again, tried to calm her, but even she felt the oppressive weight of the house pressing down, a malevolent intelligence enveloping them. Emma realized that the entity wasn't just haunting the house, it was consuming it, learning from it, feeding on fear. Every whispered word, every sound of panic, every heartbeat, it memorized, absorbed, twisted, and it was patient. Sleep became impossible. Emma stayed awake for days, watching shadows crawl along walls, waiting, listening. She started to notice that certain rooms felt wrong, as though the dimensions had subtly changed. Hallways stretched, doors appeared where none existed, and sometimes, when she looked away, objects moved, always closer to her, always arranged as if watching her progress. The climax of the terror arrived late one night. Emma awoke to find her bedroom door open. A cold wind blew, carrying a whisper that was unmistakably her own voice, calling from the hall. "Come with me." Against her better judgment, she stepped into the hallway. The walls were alive with shadows, writhing, converging, and then she saw it. A figure shaped like her, indistinguishable except for the darkness in its eyes. It stepped forward, and Emma understood with paralyzing clarity. The house was no longer just observing, it was trying to replace her. Emma backed away, stumbling into the living room. Her reflection in every window, every glass surface, now looked back at her with a sinister grin. She realized that leaving the house might no longer be an option. The entity had learned everything about her, and the world outside could no longer protect her. Somewhere in the distance, a whisper rose, chanting her name over and over, soft, almost gentle, yet carrying the weight of inevitability. "You belong to me now." The nights grew longer, and Emma could no longer tell where the house ended and where she began. Every mirror, every window, every shadow seemed alive, pulsating with the presence that had claimed her home. The whispers had evolved. No longer mere echoes, they now spoke her thoughts, anticipating her movements, predicting her fear. It was during the fourth night of total sleeplessness that the final breach occurred. Emma awoke to the sensation of breath on her neck, warm, deliberate, though the room was still. A voice, her own voice, but slower, colder, whispered from the darkness. "I am you, and I am everything you fear." Panic surged. She spun around, and there it was, the entity, identical to her, yet horrifyingly wrong. Its eyes were black voids, its smile twisted with malevolence. Emma stumbled back. The figure mirrored her movements perfectly, each step calculated, each gesture synchronized, until it stopped, staring straight into her soul. The walls began to warp. The library, The living room, even the hallway, everything bent and twisted, as if the house itself were breathing. Emma realized the entity wasn't just trying to scare her, it was merging with her, attempting to overwrite her very identity. With desperation, she grabbed her journal, the only thing that felt real, and began reading aloud passages from Whitman's writings. The words rattled through the room, ancient, commanding. For a moment, the entity paused, uncertain. "You cannot own me," Emma shouted, voice trembling yet defiant. "I am still myself." For a heartbeat, silence. Then the entity lunged. Shadows surged, pulling at Emma from all sides. She screamed, but her voice was joined by hers, the entity's voice, taunting, mocking. She felt herself fragmenting, memories and sensations colliding, merging with the malevolent presence. In that moment, Emma made a choice. She focused every thought, every memory, every fragment of her will into a single point, the knowledge of who she was, her life outside the house, the people she loved, the dreams she had. She screamed it into the room, a declaration of self that shook the very foundations of the house. "I am Emma Carlisle. You cannot take me." The shadows recoiled. The figure froze, its black eyes narrowing. And then, as if the house itself resisted, the entity screamed in a voice that was both hers and not hers, and vanished, leaving only a whisper that faded into nothing. "We will meet again." Emma collapsed, gasping, sweat and tears mingling. The house was silent. The walls, though still old and creaking, no longer felt alive. She stepped outside into the cold Oregon night, the first real breath of air she had taken in days. She didn't look back, not yet, but she knew the entity, the house, the shadow that learned her. It was patient, it would wait, it would watch, and one day it would return. Emma walked away from Silverwood, Oregon, and her dream home, carrying her journal tightly. She had survived, for now. And somewhere, deep within the house, in the east wing, near the old library, a shadow moved, and a whisper echoed faintly through the air. "Next time, you won't be ready."